Hello everybody, I'm Liz Capello and I'm making this video for the online Coursera class Online Games, Literature, New Media, and Narrative. This is my character Sehnsucht, and she is a level 30 lore master. This is my first character on the game, which I started playing in order to take this course. I ran the retake Weathertop instance last week for the first time, but today I'm going to climb Weathertop in the same way as I did the first time, which was probably about a week before that last, which was just for the fun of it, to kind of see how it looked. I'm going to be discussing the setting today, in large part because that's the most striking part of the Weathertop game space for me. The first time I climbed up it, I literally spent 20 minutes kind of standing at the summit, looking out over the desolation of the lone lands and watching the sunset. People tell me that Evendim and other places are the most beautiful in the game, and there's definitely lots of gorgeous vistas wherever you go. But so far, I think that the view from the top of Weathertop is the most breathtaking one that I've encountered. So I wanted to start off with this view. I'm currently standing a goodly distance to the east of Weathertop, looking at it towards the west, and you can see the hill, and it's a very tall hill, and you can see the kind of crumbled remnants of Amansul at the top. In the novel, Aragorn and Frodo and Merry actually leave Sam and Pippin and the pony down at the western flank. They kind of find a hollow that's surrounded by grass on all sides, and they leave them down there while the rest of them climb up to kind of see the view from the top and talk about that. And I feel that that's actually something that the game remediates in a lot of ways much better than the movie did. I want to read that passage, see if I can do this while I move and not get eaten by anything. The passage from the book reads, "After half an hour's climb, Strider reached the crown of the hill. Frodo and Merry followed, tired and breathless. The last slope had been still steep and rocky. On the top they found, as Strider had said, a wide ring of ancient stonework, now crumbling or covered with age-long grass. But in the center a cairn of broken stones had been piled. They were blackened as if with fire. About them the turf was burned to the roots, and all within the ring the grass was scorched and shriveled as if flames had swept the hilltop, but there was no sign of any living thing. Standing upon the rim of the ruined circle, they saw all round below them a wide prospect, for the most part of lands empty and featureless, except for patches of woodland away to the south, beyond which they caught here and there the glint of distant water. Beneath them, on the southern side, there ran like a ribbon the old road, coming out of the west and winding up and down, until it faded behind a ridge of dark land to the east. Nothing was moving on it. Following the line eastward with their eyes, they saw the mountains. The nearer foothills were brown and somber. Behind them stood taller shapes of gray, and behind those again were high white peaks glimmering among the clouds." So I've been riding kind of crazily around the southern edge of Weathertop because I'd like to come around to the western side to kind of advance the same way that is described in the novel. And in the novel, the party has actually been coming kind of cross-country from the Chetwood area, which is east of Bree. So they've been coming. They've gone through the Midgewater marshes already, and they've been coming more or less directly cross-country, and they've actually been moving kind of behind the line of a string of little hills that are meant to block their progress from the south, which is where the road is that they are concerned about watching, the riders that are potentially going to be watching them. I think we're going to pause here to destroy a few rather obnoxious birds. Haha, dead birds. Excellent. And an orc. Now in the novel, although you get this sort of sense of pervasive, ever-present danger, hello bear, you definitely don't get the same sort of constant stream of low-level, I guess, opponents that you get in the gameplay. You know, Frodo and his companions are concerned about being caught by the Dark Riders. They're certainly concerned about the creatures that they, you know, encounter, but with rare exceptions, they don't have to fight, you know, battles at every turn. They go through the marshes and they never fight the Knickerbreakers, even though in the game there's certainly plenty of Knickerbreakers that can be attacked for various reasons. Down here on the western side of the hill is where the ranger is actually, his campfire set up, and it seems like a fairly good image of the kind of hollow that's surrounded by grassy hills down at the foot of the mountain, but definitely right there on the flanks, and the approach to the mountain is pretty readily found right here as a road going up. So we're going to start trekking up the mountain, and I'm going to go on foot because that way if I encounter things I need to kill, that'll be just easier. And because the first time I climbed it, I didn't really know what to expect, so I absolutely went up on foot anyway. One of the things that I noticed about the film's version of the setting for this scene, or for this, you know, the pinnacle scene of Weathertop is the eventual confrontation with the Black Riders that occurs. And in the film, they kind of set up the... One moment. Alright. In the film, they actually kind of set up your approach to Weathertop. They make the whole thing a lot less grandiose. They actually show the approach, and they show it as a kind of a squat-looking hill. And the most prominent thing about it, it actually doesn't look as tall even as it looks in the game. And the most prominent thing about it is the circle of, you know, broken stonework that's kind of surrounding the crest. I have wandered clear away from Weathertop in my urge to talk about the gameplay, so let's head back that direction. And in the film, I actually, they show at one point, where am I? There we go. At one point they show the view of the hill kind of from about this distance. So you see the hill and you see the architecture that's broken and kind of crumbled on top of it. And then the story moves on to, you know, they don't actually, come back. They don't actually climb the hill at all in order to look out at the view. And in some ways that's because they really don't need to at that point. In the book there's plenty of time to spend, you know, looking around and climbing up and climbing down. And in the... Oh, I broke some legs. Shame on me. That's my other favorite thing about Weathertop, is how easy it is to fall off and injure yourself. But the film makes a particular effort at making the, you know, the film definitely is interested in moving the action of the plot along, and the most important thing that has to happen, of course, is that the Black Riders have to appear and they have to have that fight. And in order to kind of convey some of the splendor of the setting, as well as move the plot forward, they choose to have the party encampment be much farther up the slope. There's a shot where they show the fire burning on the side of Weathertop, and it's about halfway up the entire mountain. And then, of course, at the point where I am so very... I'm so dead. No, I'm not dead. I'm shocked. Where am I? So anyway, as the this is super laggy with my screen capture going. I apologize. I'm having trouble navigating just with the additional processing issues. So in the film, they actually have them retreat kind of up the mountain in order to have the final fight and the confrontation scene happen at the summit in the middle of the circle of stones, which is a great way of kind of showing, you know, you still get to see the circle, and it's set at night, so you don't really get to see the actual view. In fact, the only shot that they show that actually shows the view from on top of the mountain at all comes kind of in the middle of that sequence when they look down, and it's just a shot straight down the edge, and they can see the Black Riders there approaching and kind of gathering and closing in. But setting the plot action up on top is actually a great way to showcase the setting without having to take a lot of time to just walk around and kind of look at it. So it works really well for the film mode, so that it can actually, you know, show that without having to take up a lot of additional extra time. The downside, of course, is that because it's at night and because the setting is really just a backdrop for all this really pressing action, you don't get to see as much of it as you might otherwise want to. You don't really get to see the, you know, the view of the surrounding areas. Now, one of the ways that the movie sort of makes up for that deficit, I suppose, is that it, you know, it has lots of kind of wide angle scenes earlier on when they're walking or conversing, where you get to see plenty of the lone lands on its own, you know, from a distance as you see them walking along. You don't really necessarily have to see it from Weathertop because it's already been shown by these wide panoramic views, you know, with the camera way up in the air kind of showing it off. So here at the top of the mountain, we actually have the last steep and rocky slope, which you kind of have to scramble up in order to... Where'd it go? Get back here. Okay, not quite. But, here we go. Kind of this steep and rocky bit that you have to climb up over the last to get finally up to the center. And here you can see that they've got, whoops, there's a large charred area in the center of the stones, just as was described in the novel, and you can certainly envision a massive fight taking place here, but it also works just as well to set the fight down on the near the floor. The important thing is that in all of the scenarios you get to see the top of Amansul and get a little bit of a sense of the scale. And this is probably my favorite part here, is just being able to stand. Okay, well, being able to fight a crebain, and then after that, after fighting the crebain, I'd love just being able to stand here and look out over the lone lands, and you can see, just as the novel describes, you can see that I can't walk at all, but other than that, you can see the road in the distance, far below. You can see the hills, and you can't actually see the sky, but you can certainly get a sense of perspective. So I think this is a great view, and I appreciate that I get to enjoy it with my trusty bear companion. So thank you all for listening. I apologize for my shaky camera work, and have a great evening.